Welcome to the 2025 AIA Pennsylvania Architectural Excellence Awards broadcast. I'm thrilled to be with you this evening, having the unique honor of introducing this year's broadcast. As you know, our program celebrates the work of firms and individuals across Pennsylvania for excellence in design, contributions to the profession, and commitment to the quality of the built environment. A special thank you to the members that participated in this year's programs, showcasing the range and caliber of Pennsylvania's architects' work. I am continuously inspired by our members and their works of architecture that foster opportunity, connection, and well-being in our communities, institutions, businesses, and families. I would also like to thank the Committee on Design, nominating task forces, and program jurors for their time, expertise, and commitment to honoring this work and the individuals and teams making a difference for the profession. Special thanks to Temple University's Tyler School of Art and Architecture for the use of their architectural studio space, and Kate Wingert-Playden, Senior Associate Dean, Director of Architecture, for graciously hosting AIA Pennsylvania. At this time, I'd like to introduce you to the 2025 AIA Pennsylvania Board of Directors President, Jamie Ober.
Thank you, Steve. My name is Jamie Ober, and I'm the 2025 AIA Pennsylvania President. Before we continue with the program, I'd like to take a moment during this evening of celebration to congratulate Steve on receiving the 2025 AIA Component Executive of the Year Award. Since joining AIA PA in 2013, he has demonstrated exceptional leadership and vision for our organization. Steve led the charge for last year's historic passage of the Act 144, establishing mandatory continuing education for architects. He has also fostered the creation of the AIA Pennsylvania Foundation, ARE scholarships and EPIC firm recognition programs, and Women's Leadership Summit scholarships to ensure that all our members feel seen and supported. Steve is so humble in his success and truly attributes to the success of AIA PA to the people who surround him. We are all grateful to be in your orbit and appreciate the ability to learn and grow with your leadership. As for myself, I've been a member of the AIA for over 20 years, volunteering at local level with AIA Philadelphia chapter, and have been on the AIA Pennsylvania board for 6 years. It has been my pleasure to serve you in our profession during a time that has seen our membership grow, our advocacy programs successfully promote and defend our profession and practice, and reach expand legislatively in the Commonwealth and throughout the country within the AIA community. I have seen firsthand that Pennsylvania is one of the best run and influential state chapters in the country. This is our testament to our AIA Pennsylvania team, our board and committees, our many volunteer leaders and citizen architects, and most importantly, all of you. I'm proud of the work we have done, and I look forward to seeing what 2026 brings under the leadership of our next year's president, Alicia Mickelson, as she takes over from me in January. Our program honoring your great work couldn't exist without the generous support of our sponsors and partners. Please join me in thanking and supporting them for our investment in state chapter and profession. Our supporting friends of AIA Pennsylvania. We are grateful to our viewing party sponsors for their support of our local celebrations. Thank you to the excellent sponsor, Garaventa Lift. Special thanks to our program sponsors, Langen, Thomas Columbus, and Masonry Coalition of PA. And a very special thanks to our 3 partners for their sustaining support of the chapter. With an extensive knowledge of the built environment, Fenner & Essler provides insurance and risk management consultations for architects and engineers. As an independent agency, they were able to offer design professionals the industry's most competitive rates. If you're revisiting your professional liability insurance, contact Tim for a quote. And a final round of thanks to our network of legal partners from across the state for their counsel to the chapter, local chapters, and for providing peace of mind and more time for design to members. In the center of the state, Tony Potter with Offit Kerman, and out in the east, Rich Davies with Milbert Macris. Offit Kerman's lawyers provide comprehensive legal services to clients across all segments of the construction industry, handling everything from contract documents to compliance to dispute resolution. Offit Kerman represents a wide range of clients, including architects, engineers, design builders, construction managers, contractors, subcontractors, owners, and developers on public and private commercial projects. Combining legal expertise with practical industry insight, our construction practice group serves as trusted advisors, offering general counsel, risk management, corporate transactions, employment law, government contracting, and representation in professional licensing matters. Rich Davies, with his partners Kevin Mavchowski and Victoria Green, and their team of lawyers at Milburn Macris, focus on their representation of architects, engineers, and other design professionals, acting as their consultants and advocates, particularly in respect to risk management, by negotiating their contracts, addressing potential claims on projects, and regularly defending them in actions and proceedings initiated against them. They regularly handle cases involving errors and omissions affecting facade, structural, mechanical, plumbing, and fire protection systems, as well as accessibility in industrial, commercial, and residential buildings. They also handle schedule impact and extra claims, licensing, prosecutions, and serious personal injury, wrongful death claims arising from construction projects. In sum, their careers have been devoted to protecting yours. First up, the reveals of this year's special awards, followed by the Student Awards, Epic Firms, Masonry Awards, and finally the Design Awards, with a few documentary short features to break things up.
As a member of the AIA Pennsylvania Board, Committee on Design, and this year's Special Awards Nomination Task Force, I'm honored to be joining you to recognize the 2025 Architectural Excellence Special Awards recipients. These awards celebrate significant achievements by architecture and allied industry professionals, firms, and organizations who contribute to the built environment and the advancement of the profession in Pennsylvania. The Special Awards is brought to you by longtime sponsor Langen. Langen provides engineering and environmental services in support of land development projects, corporate real estate portfolios, and the energy industry. The AIA Pennsylvania membership at large is given the opportunity to nominate individuals or firms for these honors, while the Special Awards Nomination Task Force is responsible for both nominating and deliberating on nominees in 6 of the program's 9 categories to recommend a slate of recipients to the AIA Pennsylvania Board for approval. Special Awards Nomination Task Force Chair Michael Metzger worked with last year's Chair Joe Biondo and myself as the liaison for the Committee on Design to convene 7 additional task force members from across our state. Special thanks to Michael and Joe, Joanne Aiken, Tommy Dimmick, Melanie Nagami, Andrew Moss, Jamie Ober, Nicholas Snyder, and Kelly Versalovic for their enthusiasm and dedication to recognizing those contributing to better our profession and built environment. We begin the special awards with the Medal of Distinction, the highest honor bestowed by AIA Pennsylvania, celebrating members whose contributions to architecture transcend local boundaries and enrich both the profession and the citizens of Pennsylvania. The 2025 recipient for the chapter's most prestigious honor, the Medal of Distinction, is Frank Grauman, FAIA.
I'd always been conscious that I could not explain how one designs. We sign a contract and we promise we'll do it, but you can't explain how it's done. And it's a little scary. Like, my mother would ask me what I was learning in college, and I couldn't explain it to her. Others might look at me and think I had my act together, but it always feels like you're, flying by the seat of your pants. You're up against it, and somehow a collection of things coalesces so they might be the spark of a solution or a physical form. When I graduated from high school, my father decided to celebrate the idea that his son was going to study architecture by taking 6 weeks off of work. And we spent those 6 weeks on a sort of mini grand tour of Italy together. And I think I came back with a much broader sort of cultural and spiritual, historic sense of the importance of architecture, that we're a species who build, and we build for our spirit.
I think Frank is a very good observer of life, and I think that takes curiosity. And Frank has always exhibited to me a person of great curiosity.
The way Frank influenced me was he encouraged me to be a design thinker, and he encouraged me to not get trapped in maybe a preemptive thought or a solution, and to really observe and to let that then guide your design instincts.
Some people have it all thought out before they're in a circumstance. He would produce a point of view that is not necessarily an architect's point of view. It's Frank's point of view.
There is this idea that design is about aesthetics, and we all like buildings that look good. But to me, there's a social purpose in that as well. Its visual and physical feel are very much part of what can give a place the emotional power to bring people together.
Seeing how people live is completely germane to how you ultimately design for their life. I think Frank has an equally attuned sense of what space really does in real time and real space. And I think we learned that at RPI. I think he's extremely good at it.
Just around the time we were graduating, Wilkes-Barre experienced the Agnes flood. And so suddenly Bolin and Powell were very, very busy. And so Peter brought John in, and John brought me in, and I brought several people in, and we had a kind of clique of people who had studied together. And because the relationships were based on really deep friendships and sort of living like a family isolated there in Wilkes-Barre, the culture of the larger version of the firm very much propagated because people who came from that pressure cooker knew each other, liked each other. I think that's a good piece of the magic that propelled this organization into its strange present.
I think Frank's effect on not only Wilkes-Barre but the region will have a very long life in affecting people. People will interact with what we did, what we have done.
Frank really encouraged me to stay involved in community. You can find these amazingly rich architectural opportunities that are so much more than just great architecture. They are impactful to the people that live in your communities.
Wilkes-Barre is coming back wonderfully now, but there was always a sense there of knowing how to make do with very little, and therefore understanding how to make the most out of what you have. And I think that's another cultural attribute that I absorbed from living in that environment. Making sure anything you do for more than one reason. My involvement with this series of 50-year timeless buildings, it's been a great joy for me. After living in Pennsylvania for 5 decades, I was able, as I thought about each of those buildings, to put them in a kind of cultural and historic circumstance. Or I think of archaeology as being architecture in reverse. There's that sort of duality of looking archaeologically at something and deducing what you can know about that time as a good flip side of what you do as an architect, where you start with the present and you try to imbue the things that an archaeologist may someday find. I think the firm, within the world of the environment in which it operates, there are people who are more like the conductor of the orchestra, and then there are people who actually make really good music.
He's very methodical about how he organizes the thoughts that he has. And that's probably something that I think the young staff in a firm like BCJ probably admire in some ways the most. How do you actually organize the group your thoughts and everything else to put it together and make it be something.
From a young architect's perspective, Frank's curiosity about things was really driven by trying to find what the right solution was, regardless of whose idea it was, or regardless of how unorthodox it might be. He was very much driven about, and I would say curious about, what other opportunities are.
In the latter years of my career, people right out of school could do amazing things that I could never in my dreams ever do. And I got to work with these people. And so you had a situation in which older architects were able to do things specifically because they were working directly with very, very young architects who brought things to the table that had been unimaginable a few years earlier. The generation of people I had the joy of working with more recently would turn out later in their careers to be nothing like me, to be something very, very new. And while I won't live to see it, I think it's a joy to think about that.
Congratulations, Frank. The Contributions to the Profession by a Non-Architect Award honors individuals, corporations, associations, or other groups who do not practice architecture. Recipients are celebrated for their contributions to the profession, applied research, or through other disciplines that enhance the practice of architecture. The 2025 Special Awards recipient for contributions to the profession by a non-architect is Richard Davies, honorary AIA. Rich, a partner with Milber Macris, Plusautis & Sidon, has spent his career in law serving and supporting the architecture, engineering, and design professionals in Philadelphia and Pennsylvania in respect to risk management, claims, and defense. Rich mentors young professionals by lecturing on contracts and the built environment. Rich serves as counsel to AIA Philadelphia, the Carpenters Company of Philadelphia, and has long served in leadership of Design Philadelphia. For AIA Pennsylvania, Rich is a member of the Legal Reform Task Force for the Government Affairs Committee. To support the next generation of architects, Rich is a member of the University of Pennsylvania Weitzman School of Design Board of Advisors. And in 2019, the American Institute of Architects bestowed on Rich honorary membership. Congratulations, Rich. The Allied Trades Award, renamed in honor of Raymond J. Sinagra's dedication to the architecture, engineering, and construction community, is presented for contributions to the built environment by an allied professional, firm, or organization who works with architects to uphold the tenets of design, sustainability, and collaboration. The 2025 Raymond J. Sinagra Allied Trades Award recipient is the Olin Studio. Olin elevates architects and their work through exemplary collaboration and a deep understanding of the relationship between architecture and landscape. Their approach reveals the full potential of every site, rooted in sensitivity to both context and design intent. Thoughtful and engaged, they contribute ideas while listening with intent, advancing the shared goal of creating places that enrich human experience. Their work consistently demonstrates the transformative power of a well-conceived landscape, showing what thoughtful design can do to shape a sense of place. With aesthetic vision, experiential insight, research rigor, and technical mastery, they are unparalleled. Their iconic projects represent the highest level of design excellence, showcasing our state's capabilities on both national and global stages. Today, Olin stands as a women-owned design studio dedicated to creating distinguished landscapes and urban environments around the world. Congratulations to the Olin Studio. The AIA Pennsylvania Emerging Professionals Committee, also known as EPIC, chaired by Tommy Dimmick, put forth this year's Emerging Professional Award and Young Architect Award recipients to the AIA Pennsylvania Board for approval. The Emerging Professional Award recognizes the exceptional achievements and future promise of a young professional who has demonstrated design excellence, leadership in practice, leadership in education, or service to the profession or society. This year, the EPIC committee selected 2 recipients worthy of acknowledgement. Oyuki Sulu, a designer at Des Moines, embodies the spirit of Emerging Professional Award through her leadership, creativity, and deep commitment to equity and community. Her cross-cultural experience between Mexico and the United States fuels her passion for supporting others on similar paths, transforming experience into meaningful action. She helped launch Prospering in the U.S., a handbook for immigrant architects, and has shared her voice nationally as a NOMA conference speaker while volunteering with the AIA locally and nationally. In every setting, from design work to community outreach, Oyuki leads with empathy, optimism, and authenticity. She uplifts those around her and advances a more inclusive profession, making her a true emerging leader, shaping the future of architecture. Elsa De Leon, an architectural designer at MGA Partners, is committed to supporting diversity and mentorship to address pipeline issues in our profession. Elsa is a volunteer in the Design Philadelphia Design Education Program as a class instructor. She is a frequent mentor to the Design Philadelphia Justice Alliance in Design Education Fellowship Program for Philadelphia area colleges and universities, and volunteers on a project pipeline for Philanoma. Elsa spoke at the 2024 Fast Forward on immigration issues in Philadelphia. She co-chairs the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee of Philadelphia AIA and is the Director of Equity for AIA Philadelphia. Congratulations, Oyuki and Elsa. Jeremiah Woodring, AIA, an architect at HOK, is the recipient of the 2025 AIA Young Architect Award. Since joining AIA Pennsylvania in 2019, he has demonstrated exceptional leadership, initiative, and mentorship. He advanced government affairs, serving as secretary and then vice chair of the committee, becoming the first to hold a supporting leadership role to ensure continuity. Elected locally as Lower Merion Township Commissioner, Woodring embodies the citizen architect, co-chairing his municipal building and planning committee and revitalizing the ArcElect initiative to encourage architects to pursue public office. His advocacy extends to Philadelphia as chair of the AIA GBCA committee. Recognized for mentorship, coalition building, and fostering peer fellowship, Jeremiah embodies the qualities celebrated by this award. Congratulations, Jeremiah. The Social Impact Award recognizes a wide range of design disciplines held together by a common goal to design and create a better world through innovative, scalable, and measurable solutions. Impact design is rooted in the core belief that design can be used to create positive social, environmental, and economic change, and focuses on actively measuring impact to inform and direct the design process. The School of Architecture at Marywood University has a deeply rooted commitment to teaching the value of impacting community through design. For years, their faculty, staff, and students have actively partnered with local and regional communities to provide meaningful design assistance that addresses real-world challenges in the northeastern region of the state. Their projects include designing and constructing a range of community-focused solutions, including much-needed bus stops for a nearby town, community gardens that demonstrate how design can be both pragmatic and beautiful, and teaching local elementary students how design impacts their lives. Guided by their mission to educate passionate and thoughtful leaders, the School of Architecture empowers students to engage with people of all social and economic backgrounds and encourages the next generation of designers to positively impact their communities as they develop into architects. Congratulations, Marywood University School of Architecture. Stay tuned for the reveal of the remaining 2 special awards, the 50-Year Timeless Architecture Award and Firm Award. The AIA Pennsylvania Government Affairs Committee, chaired by Jeremiah Woodring, put forth this year's Government Award recipient to the AIA Pennsylvania Board for final approval. The Government Award celebrates an individual or group working in state or local government that has made significant contributions to the profession, business of architecture, or the built environment in Pennsylvania. Senator Frank Ferry represents Pennsylvania's 6th senatorial district, which includes portions of Bucks County. A lifelong resident of the area, Senator Ferry is committed to strengthening the communities he serves through practical, results-driven leadership. Senator Ferry was instrumental in leading and championing passage of the Architects' Continuing Education Bill, which requires educational credits for license renewal. Senator Ferry worked hand in hand with AIA Pennsylvania to pass this important legislation. Senator Ferry has been an avid supporter of AIA's legislative initiatives. Congratulations, Senator Ferry.
The AIA Pennsylvania Architectural Excellence Student Awards recognize an architectural student from the 7 Pennsylvania schools currently offering an accredited architecture program as determined by the National Architectural Accrediting Board. The following graduating students are selected by their school's faculty for proficiency in both academics and design, as well as readiness to meet the challenges and responsibilities of a career in architecture. From Carnegie Mellon University, Andrew Long. Drexel University student, Connor Cohen. Marywood University, Joseph Brown. Penn State University, Michael Val. Thomas Jefferson University student, Luke Vestano. Temple University, Peyton Suzarski. University of Pennsylvania student, Colin Clark. Congratulations to this year's class of AIA Pennsylvania Student Awards. The EPIC Firm Recognition, facilitated by the AIA Pennsylvania Emerging Professionals Committee, or EPIC, recognizes firms for their commitment to the professional development of emerging professionals and the young architects with an assessment of firm culture and support in 4 critical areas: licensure, leadership and professional development, career advancement opportunity, and commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusion. The EPIC recognition is brought to you by emerging professional sponsor, Thomas Columbus. We celebrate the following 40 firms with offices across Pennsylvania that achieve the highest standard in support for emerging professionals. This year, we have 7 firms joining our list and become recognized for the first time. AIA Bucks, Phillips and Donovan Architects, LLC. AIA Eastern PA, Alloy 5 Architecture. AIA Central PA, Crabtree, Werball and Associates. GFT Infrastructure, Inc. Murphy and Dittenhafer Architects. RLPS Architects. AIA Northeastern, Fancy Parsley. AIA Philadelphia, Akin Olshan Shade Architects. Ballinger, BRR Architects. Cicada Architecture Planning. Kosamus Architecture. Design Blends Architects, LLP. Digsaw. FCA. 15 Architecture and Design. Ian Smith Design Group. JKRP Architects. KCBA Architects. Lenhart Rogers Architecture and Interiors. MGA Partners. PJA Architecture. Revision Architecture, Stantec, Toner Architects, Union Studio Architecture and Community Design, WRT Design, AIA Pittsburgh, AE Works, Canon Design, Design Group, Desmond Architects, Drawl Collective, Evolve EA, HDG Architects, IKM Architecture, LGA Partners, PWWG Architects, PVEDI, R3A Architecture, Rothschild Doino Collaborative.
The 50-year Timeless Architecture Award recognizes a building that has endured the test of time and still resonates with the design community and the public. AIA Pennsylvania extends deep gratitude to Committee on Design members Bob Kelly and Frank Grauman for their dedication and passion in so thoughtfully bringing the Timeless Architecture Award recipients' story to life on screen.
A good art museum building is one that creates a friendly environment for looking at art. In this building, that which is extraneous to the experience of seeing seems to disappear. Here, there are no intrusive artifices of architecture, nor, we hope, of installation. The art comes forward unembellished with all the life that the artist gave it. So said the Carnegie Museum of Art director Leon Arcus, speaking of the new Sarah Scaife Gallery in 1974.
51 years later, the building comes to us as a wonderful surprise. Like its architect, Edward Larrabee Barnes, it is under-celebrated in the architectural canon, and its visual modesty makes it easy to overlook within Pittsburgh's cityscape. But very few modernist buildings equal it as an elegant stage for civic life. Here, flowing space, abundant light, and thoughtful landscape bring people together both with art and with each other. There is an uncanny freshness, dare I say timelessness, to this building. It could be from the 2020s just as easily as the 1970s. Edward Larrabee Barnes scrupulously avoided the stylistic contrivances and signature indulgences that make so many buildings seem dated before their time. Rather, the Scaife Gallery embodies the very qualities for which 21st century modernists still strive. Space for pleasure's sake, materials that celebrate materiality, indoor-outdoor dialogue, choreographed user experience, and enlightened transparency that invites people and social interaction. In 1974 Pittsburgh, this sort of thing would have been something of a novelty. Starting in the late 1940s, modernism invaded Pittsburgh with a vengeance. The city's very raison d'être, steelmaking, had seen its last hurrah during World War II. Peacetime finally quenched the mill's hellish flames, but not the city's commercial spirit. On the contrary, a cadre of corporate and political leaders quickly launched Pittsburgh's now famous Renaissance. They rode a wave of post-war optimism and the American ideal that innovation must change everything. It worked. The Renaissance put Pittsburgh back on the map as a technological and commercial powerhouse. 80 years later, that's still going strong. Pittsburgh's mid-century leaders embraced iconic modernism in everything urbanistic and architectural. The downtown Golden Triangle, filled with corporate self-monuments boasting international and brutalist styles. Business first and technology first, such edifices include the U.S. Steel, Alcoa, and IBM headquarters. Apart from Mellon Square, strong public architecture took a back seat. All of this helps us understand how the elegant humanism of Barnes' Sarah Scaife Gallery was, and still is, a breath of fresh air.
Edward Larrabee Barnes was exactly what the museum leadership sought. With the Kimball Art Museum under construction, they approached Louis Kahn, who respectfully declined. Widening their search, the committee quickly focused on Barnes. Museum director Arcus wrote a carefully crafted program playing off of Andrew Carnegie's penchant for teaching. The permanent collection, shown in chronological order, would teach art history. Barnes demonstrated that his projects were always unique responses to each client's individual philosophy. The committee was impressed that his empathetic attitude made him special among architects. We agree. Barnes's deceptively simple design imparts a sense of inevitability. One trustee called him an unselfish guy who was not terribly concerned about getting credit, just concerned about doing the job right. Another observed, the Scaife Gallery fell right into place.
But such apparent ease belies the architect's exceptional talent and insight. So let's think a bit archaeologically as we reconstruct Barnes' major design moves. In 1895, Andrew Carnegie bestowed the sumptuous Carnegie Institute on Pittsburgh, saying, patronizingly, that the city has never been anything but a center of materialism, has never had a fine hall for music, nor an art gallery, nor public library, and yet the result proves the capacity to enjoy these things. So pleased was he with this result that he immediately ordered an expansion. The Institute trebled in size with a bewilderingly eclectic array of beautiful classical spaces. The labyrinthine density was aerated by the skylit Hall of Architecture, where European antiquities came to Pittsburgh as meticulous plaster cast reproductions. The hall was emblematic of the Golden Age's conviction that American architecture must idealize European history. Not surprisingly, Alden and Harlow, the designers of the 1907 expansion, did exactly that. But their Beaux-Arts monumentality didn't blind Edward Larrabee Barnes to the wisdom of honoring the old museum's internal logic, from which he extended the two bars that defines the Scaife Gallery's geometry. In so doing, he restated the Hall of Architecture, this time punctuating the enlarged ensemble with an open-air sculpture garden. Hence, a stated rhythm spans from old to new: solid, void, solid, void, solid. So far, so good. The old museum had relegated its art galleries to the second floor. This happenstance allowed Barnes to also elevate the Scaife galleries above ground level. So like a Renaissance palazzo, the most important function occupies a piano nobile, lifted above street-level circulation and support. That reads clearly in the Scaife building's facades. Museum patrons ascend to the galleries via an attenuated staircase, enlivened by the sculpture garden and Solowit's bold mural. The original gallery arrangement was unusual among museums. A serpentine path led patrons through a linear art history lesson. Galleries are pure white spaces, as if blank canvases upon which to display paintings. Unlike many museums, they are still naturally lit. Hidden clerestories shine the greatest brightness on the walls, less on the floors and the least on the flat ceilings. Visitors continue along the front bar, passing several less didactic galleries. They are guided seamlessly into the old building's traditional display spaces. Then they complete the loop. With the ground level outside the security envelope, the partie offers operational flexibility. Gallery hours are 10 to 5, but the building is open for longer hours, making its Café Carnegie a popular urban hub. In Barnes's words, a museum is for excitement as well as reverie. The ground floor with auditorium, café, and foyer is a gathering place for people, for meeting, talking, looking, listening, and relaxing. The second floor, white space with soft modulated daylight, turns all attention to the paintings. But his magic does not stop there. With no ground level galleries, there is no need for a closed circulation loop. Instead, an 80-foot wide portal opens the sculpture garden to expansive views of Shenley Park and Carnegie Mellon. This radical opening transforms an otherwise sedate cloister into a dynamic and democratic venue. So democratic that there is no provision to close it at night. Its landscape is topographically organized by a matrix of angled stairs and landings, which double as an informal amphitheater for public concerts and events. Much of the building's emotional power derives from the architect's characteristic belief in limiting both the material palette and extraneous detail. Where it's solid, it's super solid, with the granite solidity of Norwegian emerald pearl stone. Where it's transparent, it's practically not there, pushing 1970s glass technology to the limit. And where it's showing off paintings, glistening whiteness makes light itself an architectural material. In the early 1970s, nothing was more gossamer than a glass-finned window wall. With minimal patch fasteners, it achieves 99% transparency. And so, the indoor staircase is within the outdoor garden, and the garden is bounded by Saul LeWitt's colorful indoor mural. Barnes would not have dared attempt this play of indoor-outdoor space without the recent advent of such extreme transparency. We need only imagine how stout metal mullions would have occluded oblique views from the staircase. Material magic also extends to the landscape designed by the renowned Dan Kiley. There are two entrances, one urban and the other automotive. The south entrance faces a parking garage concealed in the slope of Panther Hollow. As museum patrons pass through the courtyard's grand portal, they are greeted by the dappled filigree of Kiley's 9 honey locust trees. In contrast, the Forbes Avenue entry is elegantly understated. Pedestrians descend into a mildly recessed plaza, partly protected by the gallery's massive cantilever. This creates a classically choreographed compression and release arrival sequence. A glimpse of the sunny courtyard draws people in, while full-width transparency showcases the cafe. The landscape is all about buffering the cacophony of Forbes Avenue with its helter-skelter urban scale. The calming effect is both visual and acoustical, thanks to the masking sound of burbling water. In 1984, the plaza accommodated a new Richard Serra steel behemoth, appropriately called Carnegie. Its verticality is in masterful counterpoint to the museum's horizontality. Nodding to Pitt's neighboring Gothic Cathedral of Learning, it feels like it has always been there. And so, it joins the museum in crisply juxtaposing the primordial antiquity of iron and stone with the ultra-modernity of glass, at every juncture freeing pure space as the building's prime player. Through this interplay, Edward Larrabee Barn teaches us timeless design lessons, not so much of the past, but of the now and of the future.
We are excited to introduce a new category to our annual Architectural Excellence Awards, the Masonry Awards. This year, 44 projects qualified for consideration in this inaugural category. From these entries, the jurors selected 5 projects to be recognized across 3 distinct categories of honor: Creative Fusion, Reimagined, and Visionary. The Masonry Awards are brought to you by sponsor Masonry Coalition of Pennsylvania. The Masonry Coalition of Pennsylvania unites 3 leading masonry associations across the state with a shared mission: to elevate awareness and educate architects, engineers, and commercial construction professionals on the lasting benefits of building with brick, stone, and CMU. Creative Fusion recognizes work that pushes the boundaries of what masonry can express, merging materials, techniques, and creative concepts in ways that enhance architectural character, elevate the user experience, and demonstrate a forward-thinking approach to craft. Reimagined recognizes inventive uses of masonry materials, systems, or assemblies that challenge convention, transform expectation, and reveal new possibilities for performance, expression, or construction. It celebrates forward-looking approaches that give masonry a fresh voice in modern architecture. Visionary celebrates work that sets a new standard for what masonry can achieve, demonstrating exceptional imagination, leadership, and innovation that inspire the next generation of architectural practice. The jurors selected 2 projects for recognition with a Creative Fusion Award, granted to projects that blend traditional masonry craftsmanship with contemporary design innovation. PWWG Architects is the recipient of a Creative Fusion Award for Kopchick Hall, Indiana University of Pennsylvania. The jury noted that the project features truly beautiful masonry on its exterior, highlighting the craftsmanship as exceptional. Congratulations, PWWG Architects. Bolin Sawinski Jackson is the recipient of a Creative Fusion Award for Flats on Forward. The jury was impressed by the delicate inlay design of the windows, creating an almost tray-like effect, and by the prominent stack bond soldier coursing at the top of the building. Both masonry details reflect significant craftsmanship. Paired with the rich dark brick, they contribute to a building that is both striking and elegant. Congratulations, Bolin Sawinski Jackson. The jurors selected 2 projects for recognition with Reimagined Award, granted to projects that reinterpret the role of masonry in contemporary design. Digsaw is the recipient of a Reimagined Award for All School Commons. The project features a compelling blend of brick, glass, and metal on the front facade. The corbel detail at the top of the windows and the way the metal mullions seamlessly integrate into the brickwork are particularly striking. The building showcases a thoughtful and harmonious use of multiple materials, very well done. Congratulations, Digsaw. Canon Design is the recipient of a Reimagined Award for Coral House. The jury described the project as absolutely stunning, especially noting the corbelling detail in the parapet cross-section. The design is unmistakably expressive of masonry, resulting in a truly gorgeous building. It evokes the character and charm of a 19th century industrial structure. Congratulations, Canon Design. The jurors selected 1 project for recognition with a Visionary Award, granted to projects that boldly advance the future of masonry through groundbreaking concepts, technologies, or design strategies. Ewing Cole is the recipient of a Visionary Award for Lewis C. Cassidy Academic Plus. Beautiful work. While masonry is absent from the interior, the exterior design more than makes up for it. From the building's name inlaid into the elevation with a corbel detail to the intricate mosaic work to the banding of different colored bricks. This project is a true masonry masterpiece and a delight to behold. Congratulations, Ewing Cole.
The Architectural Excellence Design Awards celebrate the exemplary design achievements of AIA Pennsylvania members and the impact of architecture. As a member of the Committee on Design, I had the privilege of recruiting 2025's Design Awards jury chair, Annabelle Seldorf, principal of Seldorf Architects. and acting as the on-site facilitator during the jury deliberations, with essential remote support from Katie Larson at AIA Pennsylvania. Annabelle enlisted 3 fellow architects to join her in serving on the jury: Mary Burnham, FAIA Principal at MBB Architects; Susie Rodriguez, FAIA Principal at Susan T. Rodriguez Architecture Design; and Bridget Shim, FAIA Principal at Shim Sutcliffe Architects.
I was invited to bring my colleagues to this jury, and it is not a coincidence, really, that they are all women. They're excellent architects and strategic, careful thinkers who understand the belief that architecture is transformative to the environment and the society that we live in.
Well, it's always fun to get together with colleagues that are dear friends as well, and to really talk about what's meaningful in what we do. And I think today we got to see a lot of great architecture and talk about the issues that surround it.
So as a jury member, it gives me a really great snapshot of Pennsylvania, and to understand how architects in that state are actually addressing really fine solutions to really challenging problems.
What I like about these juries is that everybody does bring a different perspective. It's always an interesting conversation because you're sort of weighing different aspects of a project and trying to see it from someone else's point of view, and what are the things that really compelled them versus the things that you really see in it.
I think the gradation within an award program really emerges out of a kind of conversation with the jury and a kind of understanding of projects that really stand out in so many ways because of their scale, their impact, the kind of resonance that they have, and then the kind of lessons that we learn from a project that become an inspiration for other architects.
I think often it's simple, the idea, the power. There's, a certain clarity, both in the way the work is presented. As you dive deeper, you can find that idea as a sort of through line through everything.
We all are looking for excellence and sort of things that really stand out and go beyond the brief, creating something that elevates it to a piece of architecture that really will affect and engage in a community.
Even the smallest projects can have huge impact. Today we saw very small projects and very large-scale projects, and each of them have their ambitions, and just being reminded of doing that in best way is important.
124 eligible projects submitted to this year's Design Awards program. The jurors selected 13 projects from a pool of 38 finalists for recognition in one of 3 tiers of honor. In ascending order, the tiers of recognition are Merit Award, Honor Award, and Silver Medal.
The Design Awards jury selected 8 projects for recognition with a Merit Award. A Merit Award is granted to recognize projects that bear exemplary achievement in a specific aspect of their design. Kieran Timberlake is the recipient of a Merit Award for Allen McGee Scaife Hall. The jury observed that this challenging site was expertly resolved with a thoughtfully articulated gateway solution. Congratulations, Kieran Timberlake. Low Design receives a Merit Award for the Francis. Beautifully designed, the Francis features an exceptional and distinctive roofscape. Congratulations, Low Design. Perkins & Will receives a Merit Award for Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, CHOP, Hub for Clinical Collaboration. The jury recognized the challenges inherent in designing towers and commended the project's thoughtful calibration of fenestration, modulation of light, sculptural crown, and refined interiors, all achieved with respect for the surrounding context. Congratulations, Perkins & Will. Nome Architects is the recipient of a Merit Award for 17 West. 17 West presents an exuberant design with big moves that work. Congratulations, Gnome Architects. Low Design receives a Merit Award for the two-door house. The jury noted that every element feels intentional, coming together through thoughtfully designed, strategic moments. Congratulations, Low Design. Gensler is the recipient of a Merit Award for Carnegie Music Hall renovation, an impressive undertaking showcasing both the scale of the effort and the thoughtful rigor applied to its design and execution. Congratulations, Gensler. ISA, Interface Studio Architects, LLC, receives a Merit Award for Frankie's Summer Club. The jury praised the project for its ability to punch above its weight, balancing a subtle, deliberate use of color with a modest scale to create a striking and memorable intervention. Congratulations, ISA, Interface Studio Architects, LLC.
The Design Awards jurors selected 3 projects for recognition with an honor award, granted to projects that exemplify distinguished achievement. Moto Design Shop is the recipient of an honor award for Myers Hall switchgear.
It's an infrastructure project with a very sensitive envelope around the base, but it does more than just skin the building. It really engages with the green space next to it, so it turns into a public amenity the way it's designed. It's really punching well above its weight in terms of the effect that it has.
It's a very carefully calibrated project in its material sense. Next to the adjacent building, it looks one and the same, but it's totally, on the other hand, reinvents that to conceal the switchgear and create this diaphanous envelope out of solid brick.
I'd say the skillful handling of its scale is the thing I appreciate the most, because it actually really fits the context, and without you actually having a sense as to how big or small it really is. And that, with its play of solid and void, is really the strength of this new addition on what is a kind of piece that would be added to many campuses or public spaces, and such a great model for how to do it.
It's so abstract, it almost in a sense is a piece of sculpture. And I think that's what's the fact, while it is a building, an enclosure, but its beautiful qualities create something very different and unbuilding-like, actually.
Congratulations, Moto Design Shop. Digsaw receives an honor award for Loggia Loft.
Very fine, calibrated design that is at once an interior renovation, but really thoughtful about its place in Rittenhouse Square, with a beautiful understanding of materiality, of light, of permeability, and a very individual sense of presence.
Often our residential buildings are hermetically sealed, and this is the exact opposite. The way that the project allows the user the greatest degree of flexibility and able to manipulate and shape the spaces that they're in through cross ventilation and the kind of amazing window systems is both sensitive to the historic context, but also sensitive to the user and their ability to really inhabit and enjoy the space.
And to be able to preserve the idea of loggia with these operable windows is pretty fantastic, because you see the indoor-outdoor relationship, you really maintain that, but then actually can use this space so much more because of the ability to enclose it at different times of year.
Congratulations, Digsaw. Erdy McHenry Architecture is the recipient of an honor award for Frost Facility.
Industrial architecture deserves a big place in our work. We feel that this project, in a very singular way, addresses ideas, personality, quality, and tenaciousness.
And it seems to sort of elevate utility to almost a civic quality. Really holds its own in the context of many of the projects we've seen today. It's crisp, it's incredibly elegant, and it takes a typology and really transforms it into something quite beautiful.
And this is a really great example of a really thoughtful use of materials, functional programming, and a space that would be great to work in.
Congratulations, Erdy McHenry Architecture.
Now to the most prestigious tier of recognition granted to a project or projects annually by the Architectural Excellence Design Awards jury. The silver medal honors designs that represent the highest level of achievement. This year, the jury selected 3 projects for the silver medal honors. Kieran Timberlake receives a silver medal for Folger Shakespeare Library.
The idea that there is an expansive quality to this project by transforming a Beaux-Arts closed, solid building and opening it up, giving it topography, giving it landscape, giving it transparency, and in so doing, not denying the original building. It's really the two things together that, for me, feel like there was generosity of spirit to the past and to the future. And one finds oneself wanting to promenade in the building.
So it uses a fine-grained topography around the existing building and a series of tilted landscape planes that are very layered to really almost extend some of the interior, lower-level public spaces into the public realm. I just feel like it's woven things together in a really beautiful way, and I feel like the kind of it offers a range of more intimate spaces that did not exist in the previous buildings. Everything they've done is a kind of very positive addition and a much more human kind of occupation of what is a kind of fairly monumental starting point.
And it seems like the original really is the juxtaposition of another monumental building relative to the Capitol. And here you create a foreground and something that is derived from unweaving or unwinding, maybe better word, the original opaque building into the landscape and into like multiple ways of engaging it versus this sort of singular idea.
And I think it's a really spectacular project, so beautifully resolved. I appreciate the length of time it takes to produce and sort of complete a project like this, and I think that the ideas are very well executed.
Congratulations, Kieran Timberlake. Bolin Sawinski Jackson is the recipient of a silver medal for Gallatin residents.
I think it's both grounded in its site as well as precarious at the same time. It's powerful in its simplicity and elegance.
It has an almost scenographic quality in how it embraces the larger landscape and situates itself within it. It's beyond merely an idea because it's really a place from where you can inhabit the landscape.
I think the section is very strong. The part of the building is a retaining wall that really holds the earth back and then opens up. So you really get wall, roof, and vista. And I think that's really strong and so elemental, but so eloquent and beautiful.
I think the interplay between the solid and the wall, the earth, the sort of groundedness, and then the transparent top layer that allows that roof to float. It's really beautifully done. I also think the scale is lovely. I think some of these houses can just be so enormous. And the interior does feel like it has a very human scale, which isn't always the case.
It's this magical existence floating about this landscape.
Congratulations, Bolin Sawinski-Jackson. Ford 3 Architects is the recipient of a silver medal for Cedar Grove Community Center.
Everybody was completely taken by the quality that this community center brings and the kind of change it offers to how we think about community as a whole. And I think that architecturally there is a great deal of resolve, but there is also a kind of different take on how people come together.
It's transparency, it's welcoming quality, and then ultimately its flexibility was really appreciated. In the images, they showed different ways that the same space was used, and I think it really is a testament to the kind of skill level of the architects to actually be able to create a kind of singular space that is so adaptable.
It's very delicate as well, so you feel the power of the landscape behind it and sort of expectance about what the power of the context will do to the feeling of the interior space, but it draws you in a really powerful way.
The way it sort of sits in the landscape but doesn't really dominate it. Some of the programs, it's buried into the hill behind it, so it really is anchored to the site and anchored to the landscape in a very lovely way. It has a sinuous form, which is very lovely and elegant, but it isn't what you would expect, that it also is delicate the way it sort of interacts with the site. You know, it's simple, but also very sophisticated in the way it does that.
Congratulations, Ford 3 Architects.
Every year, the AIA Pennsylvania Architecture Firm Award recognizes one firm that has produced notable architecture for at least a decade. Excellence in design, as well as the breadth or depth of portfolio, a healthy firm culture, influence on the practice of architecture, exemplary outcomes for clients and society are recognized attributes of firm award recipients.
As an architect, you need to be really open-minded. You need to be super curious about things. You know, it's something that I found that it was something I was born naturally inquisitive. You know, as a young child, I took apart small appliances that I wanted to always understand how things kind of worked. And this kind of curiosity is something that drives me and my practice, the way in which I think about materials and assemblies of these materials. But to try to find a kind of poetic resolution that occurs through the act of the materials themselves.
When I think of Studio Dark, the firm's work, I think of a meticulous nature in detailing. Form follows function in the truest sense of these forms, and the old school nature of how these tools were made and how they're used. But a lot of that sort of old school thinking comes out in the way he details things.
If you look around Pittsburgh, there aren't all that many interesting projects that mix old and new architectures. Sometimes the new is too quote-unquote respectful of the old, and sometimes the old isn't saved in time to let it continue on into our era.
What I looked for was how can one start to find kind of spatial clarity in the existing work, which always had a kind of strong material property to them, because that's why they kind of last so much, so long as they do. They last so long because, in fact, they were made out of real things and real materials. So to me, like adaptive reuse, and here at the Thorne residence, working with the existing silo and the existing barn on this once working farm was an important thing to kind of talk about the memory of place, but then to also talk about how one might live in relationship to the historic landscape here in Sewickley Heights and integrate these structures as part of the kind of living environment.
it is an elevated experience because this is not a cookie cutter house. Everything here has been carefully considered by a master craftsman architect. That means the big things, the little things, everything. So every direction that you look, there's something that is kind of perfect. And it's an experience to live around perfection like that, and it elevates your life. It's like fine dining. It's like great music. It's inspiring. So you live your life a little better, you do a better job with your work maybe. Everything about what you're doing is a little more considered because you have that type of thinking all around you. And it is a different experience.
It's working with topography, so it's both respectful of where it finds itself, but it's also augmenting the natural world.
Meticulous, very meticulous in the care and craft when materials come together, how they meet, how they're joined, the texture of that material, the precision of how those materials are executed.
Every time was an inspiring event because Gerard has ideas all the time. He is not only a master craftsman architect, but he's an artist. He's a genius, always has another idea. And they're great. And so we loved every 2 weeks, we just get our socks knocked off by another great thing we could do here. For us, it was just inspiration, and we loved it.
To me, when looking at the body of the work of Studio Dark over the past 30 years, I hope you see it as an evolution of work. And I hope you see a kind of material consistency, a kind of curiosity from one project to another, that you really see the work as a kind of thematic whole and not as a kind of singular act. Architecture is a built reality full of ideas, but understanding how to synthesize those ideas takes a real learning process. It doesn't happen immediately, and it takes kind of a lifetime to start to master it. So if you can find a way to kind of shortcut that, the best way to do that is to start to ask the question, why is something the way it is, right?
Congratulations, Studio Dark.
Thank you for joining us for this celebration of architectural excellence, and congratulations to all the 2025 recipients.
A heartfelt thank you once again to the members who have participated, the Committee on Design, program jurors, nominating task forces, the AIA Pennsylvania team, and our generous sponsors and partners. We look forward to your participation in 2026.